Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast, where every week we talk about things like nutrition, training,
how to live a healthy and active lifestyle with your little ones, peaceful parenting, education,
and of course, mindset.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Keto Counterculture, at Fat Fueled Mom, and at Fat Fueled Kids, and search for Fat Fueled Family on YouTube.
To stay up to date with everything we're doing, sign up with your email at www.fatfueled.family and check out our blog for workouts, meal ideas, and all the other cool stuff we love to talk about.
Don't forget to hit subscribe.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Vega, and I'm joined by my beautiful wife today, Maura, and we wanted to just give you some quick background on our guest for today. His name is Matt Boudreau. He's a husband and father of 3. He's a top keynote speaker, and he's given up to 60 keynote speeches for top clients such as Lockheed Martin, American Eagle, Caterpillar, Honeywell, Purina, Cedars-Sinai Hospital, Gray TV, Wells Fargo, Wasserman Media, and Wendy's. He's also the founder and CEO of Acton Academy Placer, which is a large homeschool collective in California that helps homeschool kids collaborate on Socratic discussions, set their own academic goals, and work together on a real-world project, starting a business, all that stuff. You know, this is a labor of love for him. It's his legacy project. He takes no money from it, and he opened it up to give back to the community and to provide a place for his kids to go that was the opposite of school. So we're really excited to have him on. He has a lot of shared interests. He's also keto along with his family, and we wanted to just give you a little background on him before we had him on. Mata wanted to share a few other things with you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So for this month, anyone who purchases F-bombs, so if you don't know what F-bombs are, go to dropandfbomb.com, and check out all the amazing products that they have. We love F-bombs. We use them all the time, especially for our travels. It's macadamia butter, and they have a bunch of different flavors. No sweeteners. And yeah, they're just delicious, easy. You pack them in your bag. So for this month, anyone who purchases F-bombs and uses our code, which is FATFueledFam, you can email us a copy of your purchase receipt to hello@fatfueled.family, and you will be able to join us for a live Q&A that we will be doing at the end of November. So again, if you purchase any F-bombs for this month, use our code FATFueledFam and email us at hello@fatfueled.family with your receipt so that we can add you to the list so that you can be part of our Q&A. Awesome.
I also wanted to add that code also gets you 20% off.
Oh, so. It also gets you 20% off. Duh. So yeah, definitely use the code to get 20% off in general.
All right. What other housekeeping things do we have today?
Do we have... I was going to read 2 reviews.
Yeah,
right?
Let's read some reviews.
I have to read them.
Because we've had overwhelmingly positive reviews.
Overwhelmingly positive, but you know there's always got to be like that one person.
There's one in every family.
There's one in every family. So, you know, hey, the good news is that we have over 100
like
5-star.
116.
Yeah, over 100 5-star reviews. And then there's like 1 star that I just got to read it because I just think it's hysterical, really. I mean, I can't even get mad at anything like this because it just has to be so weird and confusing to be that angry at someone you probably don't ever know. Like, you'll never know. Yeah, it seems a little bit weird. But anyways, so this person says trash. That's the title of the review, trash. And they don't write anything else. All they put is can't stand Maura. Well, I apologize to that person, but I'm pretty much not going anywhere. And the good news is that you don't have to listen to me talk. You can like block me on social media. You can choose to not look at any of my stuff. Yeah.
We've also gotten really good reviews.
Sorry that you're so obsessed with me. Okay. So anyways, the good news is that right above that one, it says, I love getting to hear more of Maura. And I'm like, see,
great.
You're wrong. You're actually wrong because over 100 people say the opposite. So yeah. And then it says, I knew Danny was hilarious from the Ketogenic Athlete, but I think snarky, tell it the way it is, Maura is amazing. Great content. Well, thank you guys for that. There's so many other reviews and we'll try to read some here and there. Cause they're just, I love reading what you guys have to say.
Absolutely.
And
who was that last review by?
Oh, does it say it though?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Okay, it's by Izzy P16. So
Awesome.
Thank you, Izzy P16, and Buddha Kuda, block me. I don't know. Go away.
Well, other than that, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's going to be a great one. Like I said, Matt's a really good friend of ours and a lot of shared interests, and we're going to get into some of the more practical steps of how to do education with your family, whether it's homeschool or not. And we're going to talk about a bunch of really cool subjects. So check it out. Matt, what's up, man?
What is happening? You guys are rock stars, man. I'm so excited.
I'm really excited, man,
excited.
to have you on. And like Maura, because Maura hasn't known you as well as I have over the past several months.
Yeah.
And she's reading your bio the other day, and she's like, giving me all these yeses. I'm like, I'm telling you.
I was literally doing like air fist bumps because like I didn't know too much about you. And so I was like, Danny's like, okay, I'm going to send you his bio. And I'm reading through the bio and I'm just like, doing like air fist bumps. Like, I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
So
that's
good.
awesome.
Because it's just like, you know
that's
how
so
it is.
cool.
Like it's not every day you find someone that's you're kind of weird.
Dude, 100%. And to be honest, that's how I initially found you guys. So it was my wife just going, man, well, I remember clearly we were in bed and she's like, hey, you got to check these people out. They are two of the only people I've ever seen that are on our wavelength. Like, this is like, I feel like, I feel like these are our best friends right here. Like, she was just, I mean, so it was the same kind of thing, man. So it's definitely a pleasure.
Yeah. And then the other day when we were watching the underground history lesson, you're giving me like,
John Taylor Gatto.
You're commenting on my
So
story,
good. Yeah,
coming
like,
back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh,
so awesome.
Dude, so, I mean, absolutely. You guys, like I said, John Taylor, and you dropped, a little bit about Isaac and what they're doing out there at Praxis. And I mean, just so many things on the same wavelength, So yeah, it's exciting.
So fun.
It's the future, man. It's the future.
It
for
is
sure.
the future.
And
it's the present.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
It's the actual present.
It is. It's the present. And the biggest problem isn't getting ready, getting people ready for the future. The biggest problem is making them wake up to the present and how we've been living in the past. Like, that's the issue.
That is so good. That's so true.
100% the issue.
You're right. That's so
well, that's
true.
a good segue if you want to go into our question.
Yeah. So I think the best that we're going to start this interview, and really this is the first time that we had a guest on already, but it was our friend Megan and her daughter. And like it didn't seem like an appropriate question, but we definitely want to start all of our interviews like this. And I kind of told you, what my idea was. So, the first question I wanted to ask you to jump off the discussion is, what's the most critical problem you're currently trying to solve?
And I just love that question, man. I think it's such a smart question. And, like you said, you can interpret this as many ways as possible. Immediately when I hear that question, I interpret it one way. My entire life is built around changing the perception of school. It's 100% about bringing people into the present. And when I talk about changing the perception in school, I've really got kind of this two-pronged attack. So one is I'm trying to make the word dropout a good word at this point. You know what I mean?
It's a good word. It's a good word to me. It's a great word to me.
It is a good word. Like, drop out of school and start a flipping education. Like, that is, that is my,
I like it.
Dude, you got to have guts. And that is my thesis. And then I also want to make kid and teenager and all those, I want to make those bad words. And what I mean by that is, I've got so many, I work with all of these homeschool kids, and I've worked with kids for years, and I work with them and I see the things that they're able to do and like how amazing these young people are. But we've got this perception, we got this perception that everybody needs school as it is. And we have a perception that teenagers are just taking a few years off of life. And it's those things that we're perpetuating, man, that's crushing us. And I want to change both of those.
I love that.
That's a perfect answer. And that's totally on our wavelength. We are
for sure
in line with all of that, and I couldn't agree more.
For
it's
sure.
just like, and John Taylor Gatto talks a lot about that, how school extends childhood, and just kids are capable of much more than we give them credit for.
They're so capable, so capable. And it's great. Like you mentioned John Taylor Gatto, and it's a shame. It's a shame to me as a career educator like that. It is a shame to me that nobody knows who this man is, especially people working in education. Like he's never anybody that's brought up, right? Because he doesn't help us perpetuate the system as it is.
Exactly. Well, let's rewind a little bit and give us a little bit of background on your personal journey with education, and then your, as an educator yourself, a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I started out through all the normal measures, man. Went in and got my teaching credential, and was a public school teacher and public school administrator. And even then, I mean, it did not take long. Like my first job as a public school teacher, I was in, the Stockton area of California, which if you're familiar with it, not exactly the best area. Yeah. And I mean, we had kids
with the motorcycles.
Just Sons of Anarchy. Yeah.
Sons of Anarchy. They're in that area, right?
Legit, absolutely. Yeah, well done. Yeah, yeah. So, but these kids had it rough, man, and they were going home, and mom or dad or both in prison, and brothers and sisters in gangs, and it was all that kind of stuff. And we had kids, I mean, stabbing each other at recess, and I mean, there's some rough stuff, and even as a teacher in that environment, I'm going, okay, well, here's how I'm connecting with these kids. Here's what they need. Like they need this from me. They don't need, this kid that's going home and being told he needs to deal drugs. Like he doesn't need algebra. He needs somebody that's a role model that's going to shift his mindset. And so even in that, as a teacher, I was being told to do one thing and I was definitely doing another. I tell people I was very much creatively insubordinate. As a teacher, because I wanted to reach these kids. And so went from there into going, okay, well, I'm going to go into administration because that's where I'm going to actually be able to change things. So get my, yeah, right. Yeah. And that's the naivete right there, right? Like going to go change the world.
Well, that's us with the political process. We went through the same thing.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that's what I found out. I mean, as I go through and get my admin credential, I'm going, okay, hold on. So none of this is about the kids. Like this is all politics and it's perpetuating this system and it's all, and so it wasn't too long after that where, I got my administrative, became an administrator, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to private school because private school's got to be different because the state doesn't tell you what to do. And then what you end up finding out in private school is private school models everything they do after public school. So, it was just this cascading like realization about what school is all about. And then as if all of that realization on a personal level wasn't enough, that's when I found, John Taylor Gatto and Maria Montessori and Ivan Illich and John Holt and all these people that just took me down that rabbit hole of like, hey, school was never about kids. It's about a system. And everything just exploded for me at that point.
Man, that's interesting to think about because we went through that, but we're not educators. So like, it's one thing. Well, we're not really in the education system. I mean, we help when we're facilitators with our kids, but that must have been jarring, man, because that's a complete, you start to think of what you thought of at the outset, what you would be doing with your life as an educator. And then you start to realize the reality of it. Some people can get locked in like a just negativity and just feeling like, defeated. Obviously you did something different. What was the time frame for that? How long was that process? And tell us a little bit about, your wife and the conversations you were having.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, it's a great question. And you're right. People you can get locked into that negativity. What I found too, is I started looking at this going, okay, this all makes sense. So here's how we can, I automatically started thinking about what can we do here, especially at this private school that I was at, like what can we do to, kind of create that change. And I was hoping as I brought all of this stuff to everybody else's attention, and getting the teachers like, look at this. This is how the system came to be and all. In my head, everybody's going to be like, yeah, you're right. And rally around and like, we're going to change it. Right. And everybody was like, whoa. You're scared. You're going to scare all of our parents. You're going to scare all of our, like it was met with resistance, like from the staff. And I'm like, okay, am I
Not surprised at all.
Yeah.
dude, not surprised at all. No. And I was like, am I nuts? Like, I know I'm not wrong on this, you know? And so, and that's really about the time when kind of my speaking career started kind of taking off too. Because as I was speaking up about these things at conferences, I'd have districts or certain school sites around the country that were like, hey, will you come talk to us? Will you come kind of give us a little bit of this and kind of jar the teachers, you know, a little bit? And so started having those conversations. But you're right. I clearly remember this too. Apparently my wife and I with kids, we've only been able to talk, you know, we talk for 30 minutes a day while we lay down, right? Because 3 kids sounds like 100. And so
Story of our lives.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You guys know exactly how that goes. So I literally remember laying down at the end of the day and going, hey, so we're either going to homeschool, or we're going to start a homeschool collective that our kids can go to. What's, you know, or we'll move. I said, or we'll move to where, you know, I know of a couple places that kind of have this, or we'll move. What do you think? Yeah. And my wife is just a rock star. She goes, okay, I don't really want to move, so pick one of the other ones. Good night, you know, and rolled over and went to bed. And it was like,
that's good delegation,
that's
man.
So good.
She hired well.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it, man. She knows. I mean, we're coming up on our 10-year wedding anniversary, and I asked her last night, are you going to re-up me for another 10 years? And she's like, I don't know if I can go 10. We might be able to do 5. So she's a smart lady, man. She knows what she's doing. So, yeah. And so that really kind of started the ball rolling.
Congratulations on that.
Well, that helps. That helps that you're both on the same page. Because,
oh, dude, for sure.
I've seen other families where that really can just, you know, it really, like that split, it can really, it really is just very stressful. It's so funny that you mentioned that about the 30 minutes a night, and I don't even believe you that it's that much.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Yeah.
I joke, but it's not even a joke, because when Danny and I go on our date nights, like they have this parents' night out thing at the gym where we drop off the kids.
Right.
And I'll be telling list on my notes of like things that have to get done in the house, and like just like, hey, you know, we need a light bulb, or we got to service the fridge. Like these are the things that I'll talk to him about on date night, because we never get to talk.
Yes.
But yeah, unless you're a parent, like you don't understand. Like
so true. So true. And you're so right too on being on the same page, like how critical it is, especially when the things you're doing are a lifestyle change for so many people. Like you're continuously under that scrutiny, right? And if you're trying to create, you know, you guys are creators. You guys are creating a movement, you know, and you've created a following of people that, and it's so important that you guys are lockstep on that as much as possible, so that you can create better, so that your lifestyle change, you know, you can take that when people come at you and say, hey, you know, why are you eating animals? And hey, why are you guys unschooling your kids? And hey, right? Like you guys have got to be able to just stay, you know, get each other's back on that. And I know you guys do, which is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes such a difference when everyone's like the same kind of weird.
For
you know?
sure. For sure.
It is. It's not.
I love the way you put it. Yeah.
And it's one thing to like homeschool, but unschooling, you know, that's a, you know, homeschool, that's cute. And everyone's like, oh yeah, what curriculums you use? But then when you none, that's when they, you know, that's really get like the faces, you know, people really can't wrap their head around it.
For sure.
Yeah. I want to ask you, what do you think? Cause what do you think people's like biggest fears are? Because I feel like there is a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear at first. Like I originally was like that mom who was telling myself, I wish I could be a homeschool mom.
Sure.
You know, like I wish I could be that, thinking that I needed some type of credential or like patience, you know, which nobody ever has the patience. You just have to make the choice. But, you know, I think that there's going to be a lot of fear with just taking your kid out of the school system. What do you think some of those, like, what is holding people back?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. The biggest one that I hear, and I don't even think people necessarily always define this. They just go, if I homeschool, I'm going to mess up my kids. And that's like this overarching thing, right? And so then when you start to like go, okay.
I even feel that way sometimes.
For sure. You just go, man, am I screwing my kid up? Right. And so then you dive a little deeper into that and go, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that mean you're going to screw your kid up? Like, what is that? How does that actually play out? And I think the most common 2 places it goes is the first one. They go, well, what about a college. Like they're not going to be able to get into college if I homeschool them, right? Which is kind of ironic that, you know, we hold so tightly to this traditional system that leaves us feeling like we're incapable of then teaching our own 5-year-old, right? Like that's the irony.
Yeah.
It's just kind of ridiculous. Like,
man, that is so good,
dude. It's like
the fact
logically, like that's
people
crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's people.
And that's exactly what happened to me. Like I was getting asked so early, which is already kind of weird that someone's asking you when your child is 1 year old when they're going to go to school. You're like, one, first of all, what he needs to learn, he can't learn from me. And I, being fearful and first time mom, would go visit these and public school was never going to be an option. I knew that much. And I would visit like these Montessori schools. That was like the only thing. But, you know, they're so expensive. So expensive. And I would visit and I'm like, I don't understand why I can't do this myself. You know what I mean? And that's how I came to the realization that I'm like, I can do this. Like, I'm just going to try, you know, like.
For sure. You got it. I really believe, I don't remember who said this, but I really truly believe that. I remember reading something at some point where somebody said if kids were forced to, by law, go to school at 6 months of age, you know, now we say 5 or whatever.
We were just talking about this. This is a great story. Keep
dude, exactly. So like if they're forced to go at 6 months, it would take just one generation, and we would firmly believe kids would not learn to walk unless they went to school. Like,
you are gonna
100%.
This is like awesome because our education philosophy episode is coming out in 2 episodes, I think, and we say that exactly.
Oh, I love
because it's so true. Like people are like, "What about math? What about reading?" Like they act like there's no way that if you don't force someone, they can't learn.
That they can't learn.
You know, obviously, now we're seeing that that's different.
That's exactly it. And then, you know, and then again, that narrow view of, well, what about math? Like everybody needs flipping calculus, right, to be successful, right? Like, and that whole like, well, you're not going to grow up with a calculator in your pocket. Well, there went that too, right? So like, there's so many things. So college, I think, is a huge one for people. It's a huge fear that they have, and then, you know, one of the things that I break into at that point. So I always like to see how far I can drag other people down the rabbit hole, or, you know, they're either going to kind of go with me or they're going to hate me and I just won't be talking to them anymore. So it's going to usually go one way or the other. So with the college thing, man, I'm like, look, it's never been easier to get into college. Like it's never been easier. There's so many colleges out there. There's so many. You don't even have to get a high school diploma. You can literally not go to school ever, go to a JC for a couple years and transfer into any other 4-year university. Like it's ridiculously easy to get a college degree. Yeah. It's also never been more useless than it is right now. You know, and I spoke to a group of college professors not that long ago and said, hey, just somebody let me know, man, because I'm looking and I can't figure it out. What do you have to go to college to learn at this point? Like, what thing can you not learn anywhere else but college? And it was a legitimate question. And the answer, you know, there isn't anything. I mean, there's nothing that you can't learn outside of that. So college is a big one. And I think the socialization, you know, that whole stereotypical socialization piece is the other big fear. Oh, dude, absolutely. Which is just ridiculous. I'm like, okay, so the socialization that you're getting in a traditional environment that's much more like prison, where you've got a very clear hierarchy. You have to ask to go to the bathroom, even if you're an 18-year-old adult. You know, you're taught to squash the younger people, look up to the older people, always look to an authority because you'll never figure it out on your own. You know, it's this weird social construct. Like, that's the socialization that you want, you know, which again, it's just crazy. Totally. Yeah. It's that appeal to tradition, man. It scares people.
Yeah. And along those lines with the socialization thing, it becomes so ingrained in you.
Bingo.
And you don't even realize how it carries over into other areas where you're like incapable of solving a problem or a conflict. And you're just looking around like,
who's going to help me?
Who's going to help me? Like, I don't know what to do here. I haven't been prepared. This was not on the test.
Bingo.
This question's not on the test.
Bingo.
You know, and that's where like, learning, I mean, you're very similar to me and Maura in the sense that we don't ever stop learning.
This makes perfect sense to me. Like, it's just, I honestly, it's hard for me to not see how others
because you're so
don't
intuitive.
understand, because I'm very intuitive and it's just logical.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went to public school. I should be brainwashed.
Right.
I should, but it never made sense to me.
You always
I
knew it
did
was
not. I literally did not go senior year. I didn't go.
Yeah.
Like I just wasn't even
Yeah.
there. You
You
know,
were already accepted.
I was already accepted to, a Florida International University. I'm like, why am I going to go to class? This is so dumb. Like, plus it felt like a major waste of time. By that time, you're super burnt out.
Sure.
And then get this, I get to college and I'm like, how am I not prepared for this?
Right.
I'm not even prepared for
Right.
this. This doesn't even, I'm totally lost.
Yeah.
You're like thrown to the wolves. Like, it's just, I don't know. The whole system is just like
100%.
honestly,
100%. And like one of the things that kills me is
in general.
you get so many of these adults who they go, but you know what? My kid they really like school. They do really well. And that's, you know what? That's fantastic, because a third of the kids will figure out the game.
Also elementary.
Dude, they'll figure out the game. Like, that's it. I figured out the game. I got my straight A's, and, I mean, school was easy. I never did homework, didn't have to bring it
Me
home.
too. Same. It's not like I was bad.
It was easy. But then graduation came, and then I'm standing there going, okay, I'm good at sports. I know how to talk to girls, and that's it. I'm out. Like, I got nothing else to offer the world. Other than that, I'm useless.
Yeah.
So like, now what? So then I keep playing the game. Like, I guess I got to go to college, and I get done with college, and now I have a degree and can talk to girls, and I'm a little better at sports, and I'm out. Like, I got nothing to offer, So, I mean, that's the difference between schooling and education.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because schooling and education are not one and the same.
Not synonymous.
We truly believe that the only education is self-education, first of all, because if someone doesn't have an internal motivation to learn something, the whole thing with a lot of people talk about, like when they're trying to argue about, this point of schooling is like well-rounded, or your kid needs to know everything. But do we? I forgot every single thing that I didn't care about.
Bingo.
So it's not like we actually retain that information. So we're not actually coming out well-rounded, because so it's an actual waste of time. It's literally a waste of
100%.
time. And it's just like, seeing these homeschoolers, because, now, especially you with what you're doing now, like you are seeing the possibilities, and it's just like school limits you so much, like it's basically just like putting you in this box that you have in, when the possibilities of what you can do with your life are
so much greater.
So much more.
And it's this very narrowly defined box that we say is well-rounded too, right? Like, why doesn't well-rounded include being a good singer? Why doesn't well-rounded include being able to, shoot a 3-pointer? Why doesn't we've picked these very arbitrary things and said, this is what it means to be well-rounded. And what's happened is we've created a whole generation or multiple generations of people that suck, the people that don't know themselves. They're not self-aware. They're not self-confident. Like well-rounded is the death. People that are successful and driven and whatever, and ultimately happy, are the ones that are operating in their sphere of their self-awareness. Like, this is who I was created to be. I'm really good at this, and I'm passionate about this. So I'll create my life around this. If I suck at other things, I'm not going to do it. And that's okay. I can still build my life around what I'm good at. It's that self-awareness that we're after, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think I forgot where I saw it somewhere recently, where someone was commenting on the school thing, and we're gonna lay off the school. So for everyone who feels like it's striking a nerve, because I get it, I, as someone who, I went the traditional route, and it kind of like hurts you a little bit because you feel like attacked. Right. But just remember, like, if you don't know, you don't know. So, now that if you do know something you didn't know before, that's when we put on our big boy and our big girl pants, and we say, what I was doing was not optimal, not effective. And now let's move forward, and let's try something new. And that's where we are now, because we see homeschool increasing like at a geometric rate. I haven't seen recent statistics, but
it's crazy.
It's been growing like crazy. And so what I wanted to ask next was, I wanted to see like what your thoughts are, because I went to Columbia University, so it's going to be a place that's very much, with the establishment, and there's going to be a lot of the same talking points that you hear. And a lot of what I hear usually is, what about single parents, or what about households where both parents need to work? what would you say to them about, how they can become more involved with their children's education?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I get that. That's definitely a valid concern. The beauty of the world we live in now with the internet and that technology is that the quote unquote learning, that's always there. That's always a part of it. So if you want, if you're worried about, I'm not going to be able to spend the time, quote unquote, teaching my child. I don't think anybody should have to teach. You're teaching by example. Like, you're teaching the way you live your life. That's your teaching as a parent. The rest of that information, you're just facilitating, you're guiding. And that can happen at 7:00 at night. That can happen on Saturday. That can happen on Sunday. That can happen anytime. So the thought that you've got to have, a certain amount of hours every single day, it just doesn't play out anymore. So I understand the need for childcare. You can't, if you have a 5-year-old and you got to work, you can't just leave them home by themselves. I get that, for sure. But to think that you can't homeschool because of that, just doesn't play out anymore. I mean, it just doesn't. With the way the internet is, it literally does not play out anymore. As long as you have somebody to watch them, you're golden.
Yeah, I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say something provocative, and I'll say that I am almost certain a child who is left alone, or not alone, but with, a caregiver, and parent is involved in, like, trying to figure out whether it's the night before or the morning of before leaving to work, touching base with the child and saying, okay, what are your intentions for today? How do you plan to spend your time? And then, the child is left to his or her own devices to actually explore different interests with someone available to give them all the resources they need. I mean, that person
sounds like my dream.
That's it.
Yeah, there's no way that, with the exception of people that you've mentioned that who are going to figure the system out and who may very well love it,
sure.
And whether they go on to be professors or go on to be, executives who just have a positive experience, I would say that they're more outliers. I would say that, a typical child is probably going to do much better.
100%. 100%. It's that mindset, man. That's all it is. We've got the homeschool collective that I own, and it's, we got 120, almost 130 kids there, and we got this huge wait list, and it's fantastic. But that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on that kind of mindset, giving them that mindset of, what do you want to do? And how are you gonna hold yourself accountable to learning what you want to learn, like setting your own goals for yourself and moving forward. And it's that mindset that we're developing that takes them throughout the rest of their life. I mean, that's 100% what you're mentioning right there.
That's a perfect segue into our next question, because we want to know all about Acton Academy Placer.
Yeah.
What's it all about? How does it work? And then also tell us a little bit about your homeschool course for parents, because I need that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well he already hooked.
I know Danny's like, he already sent it to us. I'm like, I need that. Perfect.
We haven't even opened it yet, but we're definitely.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. Yeah, no, I told Danny a while ago. I'm like, man, I just want to send this, and I want to get your guys, I want to get your feedback as somebody that two people that I respect very much, and I just want to hear what you guys think about it. So, yeah, man, Acton is. It's been unbelievable. So part of this journey of kind of transitioning out of, when I was in that private school and was an administrator there and trying to make change and seeing that it clearly wasn't going to happen, I started kind of venturing out and checking out other kind of alternatives from homeschooling to Sudbury schools to Summerhill and all these things. And I actually was getting stuff ready for a TED Talk that I did in 2015. And I went and visited an Acton Academy in Austin, Texas. It was actually the original one, because it's a network essentially of entrepreneurs, kind of like myself. And
we actually had our Desmond in a local branch, which was very too small. Too
small. We didn't have a space. We didn't have a designated space, and that's
but yeah,
makes it tough. Yeah, totally. And that's really that. It's all over the board. They're all very. It's a group of entrepreneurs that believe very much the same thing about children and the way they can learn, but they all do things very differently too. They all operate differently. And so I found, this group of people. I was like, okay, yeah, this absolutely makes sense. And they had some, systems in place and just some resources in place. And so when Heather and I decided to kind of open this co-op, that was really kind of the system and the network that I tapped into to do this. So we're doing things differently than all of the other Actons, but essentially the way we've set it up is it is a homeschool co-op. Every single kid there is homeschooled. Nothing is mandatory. There's it's not school. So there's no mandatory attendance. There's no mandatory, but what you get is we've got 120 kids that get bummed out when we have breaks. We have 120 kids that are asking not to have summers because they're coming to this place, and whether they're 5 or 18 or anywhere in between, they are, we talk about them being on a hero's journey. We say you're on this, you're going to find a calling, you're going to change the world. So they're spending their day.
I just got goosebumps, man. I just got goosebumps. And that. Because the hero's journey is the thing I talk about all the time. And and watching it play, like I'm not a crier, but like this is the stuff that gets me going, man. Because you watch this stuff play out. They're having Socratic discussions with each other, and they're learning how to think, like not what to think, but they're learning how to think, because we don't tell them what to like. Are the adults on campus? We're guides. We don't even answer their questions. We answer their questions with other questions. So everything is Socratic. They're setting their own goals as far as any kind of academia. And then we're allowing them to collaborate on real world projects. If they think they want to build something, they build it. If they want to start a business, they start a business. And then we attach, as a community, just the concept of, it's that mindset again. So personal responsibility. Like if you want something to happen, make it happen. It's on you. And character, we bring character back. Students, kind of create these contracts of behavior, and we don't hold them to it. They hold each other accountable to that contract of being a good person and working hard. And, so we essentially just have this community where the 5-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, and all of the adult guides on campus are on the exact same page. There's no hierarchy. It's a flat organization of people working together to further themselves individually, and then work within the concept of the group to just get mass exposure and find out who they are. Self-awareness, self-confidence, that's the curriculum. 100%.
My kids there.
We hear about California always, and I think it was you who told me, no, it's not that serious, man. Because some of the bureaucratic hoops you got to jump through, and maybe
the homeschool laws are a little more
actually
strict.
Wasn't you? It was a friend of mine.
Yeah, they're funky.
Seriously considering.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, for sure. I'm honest. I can definitely see California being one of the first states to down the road saying, hey, we're going to make homeschool illegal. Like I can totally see them doing that. I can totally see them doing it. But at this point it's.
Yeah. And it's very incremental, sure. But that's why we don't get involved politically unless it's with like very important issues of freedom, like, having
like
having the ability to choose where your child is educated and how they're educated, or, what treatment options you have for diseases and things like that. But other than that, I'm not going to pick whoever the figurehead is, the next figurehead that we're going to have, the next, TV show producer who's going to be on.
No.
That is so cool. So what about is it funded by like the families? Like how does it?
It is. Yeah, it's 100% funded by the families. It's tuition based, and the way we've set it up, we allow it allows families the ultimate flexibility. They can just either register with the state as homeschooled and just come whenever they want, which ends up being honestly every day. The kids are driving that, or because of the way we registered, they're also able to connect with some of these homeschool charters that actually give them a little bit of funding to offset tuition, but it's 100% tuition based. And I don't take any, I don't take any money from it. It's not something that I take a salary from or want to. This is my legacy. I built it selfishly. I started this because I wanted this for my children. Like that was the impetus for that. And I wanted this for the community. I wanted to show people, we're talking about that initial question, man, what's that critical problem? You're not going to change the perception by battling it and just pointing out what's wrong, you got to build what's right too. Right. That's it. Like I'll continue to speak out about the things that are issues, but I'm going to speak out the most by building this other thing that people look and go, oh, okay, now I get it. The parents have been amazing. My guides are amazing. And
that sounds so cool. I want to go to school.
Hey, you can come on in, man. We're full, but maybe I'll make an exception. I don't know. We'll talk.
We always talk about this. And this is a big selling point for parents who haven't even considered the idea that they're going to learn.
Yeah.
Like homeschooling is everyone's learning, and learning is amazing. Like just learning together, every single day when Desmond hits me with a new random thing,
yes.
We always talk about this, how, kids who are schooled know things that homeschool kids don't know, and vice versa, right. And Desmond, he's telling me things, not being prompted, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like that I don't know.
Yeah, and he's teaching me. And the same thing with Maura when she's, learning about something, because the beauty of the internet right now is just, let's learn about that. And here we go.
One click. Bingo. Yeah, we have to go to libraries, like find books and texts. And that's the thing. Like it is the internet has made school kind of just like totally irrelevant, because you can learn anything. MIT, all these colleges, they have their lectures online for free.
Yes.
I mean, it's so ridiculous. Yeah. Like you could learn how to do anything.
Yeah. It's literally,
that's amazing.
Before we go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, the internet was literally like the final blow. Like it was the final death blow to formal schooling. I mean, it really has. And you guys made such a good point about, Desmond's learning something and he's teaching, and homeschool kids are going to know things that non-homeschool kids. And you're right. And it's just like, you're going to know certain things because you live in Florida that I don't know because I live in California, and people in Nebraska are going to know some things, and people who grew up in a military family are going to learn some things, and people who grew up Buddhist are going to learn some things, right? Like everybody's situation is going to determine that knowledge base, and that's life. And so to think that everybody's got that standard set of learning it's silly if you look at it logically.
Well, we're going to switch gears to parenting, but before we do, I think it's important because when you talk about creating a homeschool course for parents, I think that's very, very attractive to people who may be hearing what we're talking about. They may have seen some stories on Instagram that we've mentioned and some stats and, little bite-sized clips. And then they hear this interview with you and they're still like, yeah, but the rubber hits the road tomorrow and I'm supposed to teach, because I decided to. We had a friend who said he was going to pull out his kids. It was actually, I won't mention it because he didn't mention it. He hasn't mentioned it in public, but he said he was going to wait till the end of the year or till Christmas, and then he just decided. He
didn't even wait till the end of the week.
Yeah,
he went like on a Tuesday midday. He's like, they're not even finishing this day.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But there's fear there. Like you feel inadequate, or you feel like I don't know what I don't know. So what is this course? What are the goals of this course?
Yeah, that's great. And that's exactly what we're addressing. It's that fear. And that's what I get, even when I'm talking to organizations that have nothing to do with education. And that is one of the most common things I get is people come up afterwards and say, okay, thank you. That helped me a lot with my own children, never mind business, but I'm so afraid. I wish I could homeschool, but it's that fear. And that's exactly what this is designed to get them over. So there's video modules that we've created that walks through kind of the entire, like not just here are the resources available, but a lot of that is the mindset and shifting people's mindset into the reality of it's going to be okay. So you've got all these modules there. You've got digital resources that we provide that, again, part of it's that mindset piece and part of it is the practicality, right? Like part of it, like Gary Vee calls it the cloud and the dirt, right? So part of it's the clouds of the macro, and then part of it's the practicality of like, look, here's one step at a time and try this. And then I think the most valuable part of what we're doing is when people get the course, there's a Facebook live that we're going to do for an hour every single week for anybody that's got the course. And when I say we, it's myself and my entire staff. We'll go live, and any questions that have come to us through the week, any questions people have right there, we're going to dive in. So it's not like, here, check it out and just go. We don't want to just leave people hanging. We'll kind of give them that coaching along the way too, and continue to answer those questions, continue to answer those fears until they go, okay, until that shift has been made.
The same as, like I have people who say, well, here's how I feel. Here's what my cholesterol numbers are. Here's what my doctor said. And, I feel really good. And I know I'm not supposed to care about this, but the doctor said, and I'm like, fire your doctor.
Yes.
And, like they'll message after, like, yeah, but I still, I guess I got to just walk through this a little bit and work through it. And that's where having this resource to like calm you down and let you get over these fears. It's sad because we really are so fear-based in everything that we do. It's like, trust what your doctor says, trust what society says about schooling. And it's really nice to have that resource. So I think Maura's going to ask you, we're going to get into parenting now. And we wanted to ask you first because your rules, you have more rules than us, but we really like
those rules.
Cool.
It's more of like a system.
Yeah,
like
it's a system.
Yeah, it's a mindset. Yeah, a mindset system. Kind of our 11 and 11 is kind of our family number, and our anniversary is the 11th. Our kids were born on 11s, and so we've got all these fun. So yeah, it was cool. So we just made kind of these 11. It's really, like you said, it's not even rules. It's more of a system. It's more of like a set of reminders that we kind of all agree on. Like here's how we kind of want to live our life, and it's an ability for us to hold ourselves accountable and hold each other accountable to those. And when I say hold each other, I mean, if my 2-year-old wants to call me out on something and he's legit on it, then I need to follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, same here.
I love it. So should we read his rules?
Yeah,
I'm going to read them real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, let's read them real quick, and then
all right, because I love it. It's like they're not even really rules. They're just like
reminders,
yeah.
And they're things that sound like something that you want to do, So, okay. So number 1, be honest. It's great. Honesty. Start with yourself. That's the most important. I love that. It's always you always put it back to like, start with
absolutely.
yourself. It's true. And yourself. Number 2, be a copycat. I like this one because at first you're like, what? But like it's like, emulating the characteristics of others that you find, attractive, that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I like that because, we're always like saying, oh, don't be like everyone else. But, that's not a bad thing if you're looking up to someone who is, a great person and has characteristics that you want to, emulate.
Right.
Number 3, be emotional ninja. I love that wording, obviously, because kids are going to be happy. And, let what doesn't matter just slide off. So that's something that we all struggle with. And that is also something that as parents, we have to model for them because they are our biggest mirror. Number 4, be the hardest worker in the room. 5, be the nicest person in the room. Number 6, I should do this one. No complaining, just fix it. When I read that, I'm like, yeah, Maura. Number 7, think, because most people won't. So good. Number 8, discipline equals freedom. Thanks, Jocko. I love that because I have Desmond listening to The Warrior.
Oh, so good. My kid's favorite book. Jocko,
so good. So good. Yeah. Number 9, memento mori. This ride gets discontinued. I like that. 10, personal responsibility. It's always my job. And 11, doing the right thing is always the right thing.
Bingo.
So love that. That is so good.
And you hit the nail on the head too. I mean, you've got to model all of these. And I tell parents this over and over and over. Your kids will come through you so much more than they come from you. Like you are, and you said they are your best mirror. They show you who you are, and that is a big deal. So we've got to be so conscientious about that. And I know, and again, you guys mentioned this on a previous podcast. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. Of course, you're going to blow it. But then own it. Talk to them about that, and and move on. But they're going to model, and that's with our parents they're dropping kids off at our location. I'm saying, look, we can talk growth mindset all day long, but if they go home and they're not seeing growth mindset ever, that's going to be a battle. Like that's not going to help them. So modeling that behavior, man, is more important than I think we even give credit to sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. 100%, yeah. And now, of course, naturally, the next question, because I'm sure everyone wants to know, well, what happens if your kids don't follow the rules? There's got to be consequences, right?
Yeah, I mean, the consequences, just like it's a consequence when I don't follow the rules. You got to just reevaluate. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, that as soon as kids are not, it's such a good, I know you're asking that kind of rhetorically, but it still gets me like all my emotions, man, because kids are not people in training. They're people, right? Like they're not training how to be a person. Like they are a person. So when they blow it, and they will, when we blow it, and we will, it's just a conversation, man. It's like, okay, what happened right there? How did we miss the boat? It's a reflection. What could have been different? And then you move on. And then, it goes back to that letting things that do not matter truly slide. You get there and you go, okay, that was the learning experience. And you go. And when you treat kids that way, like I've people will tell me, oh my God, your kids, they're so ridiculously mature. They're so nice. And it's just because that's how we practice. We've always talked to them as adults. And they behave that way and they believe in themselves that way. And, it's not difficult. And that's where it goes back to kids are so much more capable than we give them credit for. It's all in how you approach it.
Yeah. I love that you said that because John Delgado says that too. His colleagues would always ask, how do you do it? Like, how do these respect you? How do you get them to do these things? And he's like, they're not dumb. Right. They see the way that they realize that I talk to them the same way that I talk to you.
Bingo.
I don't talk to them differently than I talk to my coworkers. So, and I heard it said once and I loved it. I don't even know who it was, but basically to talk to them as if they are already those people that they can become. Like they're already those people. So talk to them like that,
exactly.
Because we can just be so, as parents, just, belittling and just like.
And we just have, we have that, we talk about having what's the whole thing that they say about this generation is that there's that
entitled
mentality, sure. But we as parents need to realize that we act very entitled when we think that a child needs to react to us a certain way. We need to check our own.
Bingo.
Exactly.
Bingo. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. And that actually, when I'm doing a lot of the keynotes that I do, a lot of times it's generational in nature, and entitlement is a big issue that we talk about. There just needs to be a subtle reminder, like, look, their parents oftentimes feel entitled too, and adults feel entitled too, and sometimes these kids start to get entitled because you've parented in a way that creates an entitlement mentality. And it's not an age thing. It starts with parents. It's not a socioeconomic thing. It starts with parenting. Unfortunately, it's perpetuated in public schools, and entitlement. It's the opposite of the growth mindset. Is really what it is.
Yeah. Now here's a big problem for me, man, because I've really been thinking about this the past several months, and I feel like our children are not challenged. Their lives they have instant gratification. Mm-hmm. You see how convenient everything is. And, a lot of this, you just can't, it's the way the world is, like their lives are very easy. They don't struggle the same way we did.
Yep.
Things like Amazon Prime, for instance, that they can one click away and then have something delivered to them 2 days away.
Sometimes the same day.
Sometimes the same day. And so, in my opinion, like this leads to fragile humans and, ungrateful humans. So like, what are your thoughts on this? And what are a few ways that, you think we can try to be proactive about this? Because this is like I said.
Because we're not going to change that. And we have to learn. And our children have to learn to live in this world.
Yeah.
But
they need to be challenged.
But they need to be.
Because that's a lot of the stuff that the qualities that I have that I think are positive qualities come from that struggle.
Yeah, you're right. And those struggles that were inherent before that you have to kind of manifest now, right? Like you said, you know,
Yeah, you got to go out.
yeah, man, these kids live in this world. You're right. Like they don't, this is literally the first, you know, your kids, my kids, this generation, this is literally the only generation that's never, ever had to leave their room to exist, right? Like you want clothes, you order it. Like you said, delivered. You need food, order it, delivered. You need a girlfriend, swipe right, delivered, right? Like it's
Swipe right.
That's so true, man.
so they don't have to do. So you're right. So instant gratification is built in, and that's not their fault. That's the nature of the world we live in. But you're exactly right. They're going to be disadvantaged when it comes to, you know, that grit, that determination, if we don't manifest that for them. And so that's where we set in the personal goal. So my kids have weekly personal goals, and you guys were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier too, but that's we focus on that with all of our kids and all of the kids at Acton as well. On Monday, we're checking in saying, what do you want to accomplish by the end of the week? And we have this conversation with them around what we call the challenge donut, right? So you don't want to be in the middle where it's just everything is cozy, comfortable, because you're not growing. This is just going to happen naturally anyways. You're not growing. You also don't want to be way on the outside of the donut, because that's where you're panicking. You feel like, oh my God, I bit off more than I can chew. I'm not going to be able to accomplish it. You want that nice fat part in the middle that's going to challenge you to just go a little bit further, just to get a little bit uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be, it's just baby steps. Get a little more uncomfortable today than I was yesterday, and then a little bit more uncomfortable the next day. And it's those baby steps that, you know, over the culmination of time that ends up growing. But you've got to purposefully put yourself in just slightly uncomfortable situations. And that looks different for everybody too, right? Like education looks different for everybody. So that looks different for everybody too. And so, you know, for one of my daughters right now, she wanted to she'd been getting up in front of people on a stage and doing some dancing and going, okay, it's a little uncomfortable, but I think I really grow from it. So she wanted to try out for a play that they're all writing and putting together, and she tried out and got a part. And so now it's like,
see, that's
it's that mindset.
That's, you're getting that into
bingo, exactly. Yeah. And then my other daughter was like, you know what? I don't think I want to act in the play, but I'm very artistic. I kind of want to build some of the props for the play. So she gave herself a project of having, and she's 5, but she had to build props for this play, right? And so she joined together with some other kids to build the props. So it's just that's where that growth comes in. That's where those challenges come in. You've got to manifest it, but you got to be intentional about manifesting it. Otherwise, you know, they'll grow up thinking everything gets handed to them.
Yeah. I see glimpses of it, you know, and you know, the mindset starts with us, you know, because so I'll see things with Desmond that, you know, really encourage me, where he'll say, you know, I'm going to do this. And then I'll say, well, you need anything? And he'll say, no, I'm good. And I'm like,
yes. Okay. Got it. Yep. Cool.
My bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to step right out of the way now.
Yeah. It's amazing.
What did you post the other day? One of them said, oh no, I'd fight on myself, or something like, dude, oh my God. Yeah, I was like, man, I wanted to high five and hug that kid all at the same time. That was just legit. I love it.
Yeah.
And that just shows like his true, like who he is, because that's really who he is. Like, you know, cause you have your kids and they're so different, you know, and you have to almost like adjust your, not just parenting, cause it's just in general, just your communication, just as you would with 2 different friends, you know? And it's just funny how like they're just so different. And I never have to worry about that kid getting bullied or anything. Like he does not care. Like,
and Mauda coaches me, you know, on this, because, you know, both of us, and I coach her too, because I'm much more like Desmond and she's much more like Dean. And, you know, when you start to get frustrated, like this child is not changing. Well,
he's actually not gonna.
Like,
so,
you know, Mauda's like, you know, if you do that, it's not going to work. No one's going to win, right? Like you have to adjust your approach. You can't do it the same way that you do it with Desmond. And I'm like,
so good. So good. And it's, you guys, it's so obvious, but it's so not the way we're taught to parent. You know, like it's, you parent every.
And the truth is that most of
them is very much, it's like they have to fall in line. They have to be adjust to you.
Yes.
You
Look,
know?
bottom line, that way of being, it's more convenient.
Yeah.
And it gets you like what
Right.
you want
Right.
fast, but it's not necessarily what's best for the kids, because a lot of times like what they're doing is just inconvenient
Yes.
to my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have to remember that like they're not necessarily, like what I say, like we're always like, we shouldn't be surprised by age appropriate behaviors. Like a lot of times like parents
Yeah.
act surprised. Like you're surprised that your 3-year-old is
Uh-huh.
having a tantrum. Like why? Why are you surprised?
Right.
This is the age
Right.
where tantrums occur. So starts with, knowledge first, just knowing those things and like, okay, what are the facts here? Like, this is just how it is, like I shouldn't expect adjusting your expectations
Hold.
and then modeling
Totally.
the behavior.
That's exactly it. Yeah, we have that, and we do the same thing. We have that conversation all the time. And again, I think that's one of the things I highly respect about you guys too. Is you guys will continue to have those conversations. And you said you coach one another, and I think that's so necessary. And my wife and I have those conversations all the time where we go, "Whoa, what just happened right there?" And then we go, "Oh, wait a second. She's 5," or "Oh, wait a second, she's 7," because we're used to them acting like they're 30. So when they don't, we're like, "What's the deal?" And then we're like, "Oh yeah, that's it." And then again, you audit them based on who they are as individuals. You got to approach them differently. And that inconvenience piece is huge, man. Most parents, and this, I mean, from parenting to the way they force whatever the schooling thought, I mean, all of this, parents will parent based on somebody else's perception of them as a parent rather than how they actually should engage with their child. They'll go, okay, but if I don't parent them this way, my parents are going to think I'm a bad parent. Or if I don't parent them this way, the Joneses down the street are going to look at me as a bad parent, right? And so we parent based on other people's perceptions. And I think that's just such a dangerous place to be.
Oh, totally. And we're all subject to this.
For sure.
We're all subject to these feelings. That's all they are. They're feelings, that we have to just be like, okay, this is my feeling. Like for example, Desmond is like our oldest. He's like, he's like his dad. He's very much into like scary stuff, horror and weird things that people would probably find strange, So like, and he is also very social and he also doesn't care what anyone thinks. So he'll, for example, like he ordered a Deadpool costume or some red cat eye contacts. And like the first thing he does when he gets it is like put it on and say, "Can I go walk around the block?" And I'm like, my first instinct is like, no, dude, that's going to creep everyone out. But then I'm like, you know what? You're a kid. And if anyone can walk around the block with a Deadpool costume, it's you. So go ahead.
Especially when he's not going to go up to people and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah. He's so.
Yeah, check me out. I'm the demon.
So
I'm the demon baby.
You have to let it go. Oh yeah, you have to let it go. And that's what it's like in public. Like if your kid's throwing a tantrum, forget. A lot of times you're just like, oh my gosh, everyone is like looking at you. Everyone is watching us right now. But really, those people need to get over it. First of all, because they must have never cried as a child.
Right.
And second, just forget it. Like you're not going to get what you want anyways with an annoyed tone, because kids know when you're full of crap. They just do.
For sure. Oh, for sure. They're so intuitive. And we
especially Dean. Exactly.
So true. So true. Oh, they're so good. So good.
I'm really interested in like, what are some of the, how you said, like the kids, you give them goals to work on weekly. Like what are some of the actual projects that these kids are working on right now? Cause I'm honestly fascinated by these kids. Like, I feel like they have way more potential than I do. So I feel like they're more interesting than I am anyway. So and they know it.
We both do.
They know
watch these shows, these cooking shows where kids are like competing to cook and doing that they're.
Yeah, because I have to volunteer at Desmond's co-ops when he takes STEAM and stuff. And you know what? Those kids, they feel it. And that's why they're so drawn to me, because they love me. But that's because I am truly interested in what they're doing and what they're saying. And that's so important.
Oh no, they know if somebody's full of it or not, like you said. I mean, they absolutely do. Yeah. So these, when it's, as far as the academic stuff, I mean, they are setting their goals as far as, what they want to do on, the math, the reading and all that kind of stuff. And so we've got 9-year-olds that are struggling on, just basic addition and subtraction. We got a 9-year-old that's doing geometry. So like, they're all over the board on that. But then the beauty is they come together on those projects. And at that point, it's even playing ground, and here we go. And so what we try to do is every 5 or 6 weeks, we will offer and kind of present them a new project. And they've all kind of voted on what kind of stuff, what kind of things they would like to see. They kind of vote together. And so we present, kind of the opportunity for this new project, and then they'll dive in for 5 or 6 weeks. And what you see is they'll take on. So like right now, we're doing what we call it's a theater quest. We call the projects quests. And so the whole idea was, as a unit, you're going to put on a production. And so we like to up the stakes a little bit. This is where that growth comes in. So we go, hey, you're going to put on a production, and we're inviting the community. We're inviting your parents. Whatever you put together, everybody's going to see it. So let's do some good work. And so what you see is kids within that, they'll start working together, but they'll also start to gravitate towards what is exciting to them. So we had a group that wanted to try out for acting parts. We have a group that wanted to build the set and build the props. And so they actually got to build. And so we had a group that wanted to write the scripts and go in and kind of do the writing and be the creative on how we're going to do a twist on, we're doing a twist on Alice in Wonderland. So they were going in and writing, like, what does this look like? A modern day Alice in Wonderland. So they get to kind of work in their zone. And so this Friday, we'll put on that performance, and they've all taken that on. Last year,
that is so amazing.
Oh, it's so much fun, and they're all it's all so different too. I mean, and
they're all so into it.
They're so into it, and they get to go where they like. My kids they weren't super stoked when they heard it was an engineering quest last year, because they didn't really get what that meant. But when they found out that they were going to be designing the back acre of our facility and like what they wanted that to look like. And so they went out and they created measurements and said, okay, we could put a play structure here. We could put a garden in here. So they all kind of came up with these ideas. They pitched each other sales pitches on, okay, I think it should look like this, should look like this. They came together on an idea, and then once they all agreed, they went to go implement the idea. So they put in a large garden in the back. They built, and when I mean built, they built the monkey bars that we have in the back there.
Wow.
Power saws, and we had supervision, but power saws, and using the auger to put the holes in and put those down. And I mean, we've got that in there. They're building a tire structure that's like a climbing structure. So like they do that. They're also all starting their own businesses. And that's the only quest that we do every single year. They'll start, they'll create a product or a service and bring it to market. And the feedback is, do I make any money? Do I, it's real stuff.
That is so important.
So big.
That is so important. That's so relevant to real life.
So relevant.
And that's such a good practice for them to do that and see what works and what doesn't. And,
Bingo.
Interacting with people, and selling something, and, it's just
team building and
team
all
build.
of
There's
those
just seriously so much to learn.
Bingo.
From putting on a play.
Bingo. Just
so much to learn.
Just that alone.
You just think it's putting on a play, but it's actually not.
Yes.
That is so important.
Oh, it's
we
huge.
Really can we open one of those things here? The Acton? Can we open one here?
I
want to just open one of those.
Yeah, you seem like you guys don't have anything to do. You don't have anything going on. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, Danny quit his job.
I'm just like,
right? Like he does.
Well, because here's the thing is that I need,
and now I have less time.
Exactly. I know that's true.
Here's a struggle. Like when you want to unschool and homeschool, and you also have like your own business going on where you have to dedicate some time, but then it's like that struggle where it does kind of suck sometimes that I don't have a place to send them that I feel comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like sometimes there have been in my life where I'm like, man, I could really use.
Quite often.
Yeah, I can really use for them to be in school right now for my own personal. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to send them. I'm like, that's not what they need. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to have to suck it up for now. But like, it would be great to have some place like that,
Yeah.
So it is so important. And you guys are doing that because it's just going to keep growing. I mean, Tampa, we have some groups here in Tampa that are really, really large, but they're more structured. They're, it's a little bit different, but it still works because it's by different classes. So like my son still gets to pick what class he wants to take that semester.
Yep.
Or, whether it's team or next semester he wants to try Spanish.
Like two to three classes tops, and then the rest
he was also too little. Like the good classes don't start until like 7 or 8 years old.
Gotcha.
And so now they're starting to be like some more options. But again, it's like separated through age. And so it's not like that. Like there's just so much to learn when you when you put all the kids together. Really, it's so important.
Yeah, for sure. And again, anytime you make that, people say, you got to keep them with this group. It's weird if you have the older ones, or it's weird if you have the younger ones. You just remind them, man, it's like, how old are you? I mean,
that's the real
how old
world,
are you? Yeah, exactly. Like you and I are having a discussion right now, and we're 7 years apart. We're 8 years apart. It just doesn't map out in reality. And there's so much to learn both ways, older, younger. I mean, that's life.
And that's where the socialization thing, honestly, it doesn't even make sense when people ask me that, because one of the biggest compliments that I get is that how well socialized my Desmond is. And it's just, of course, because he's not getting his social cues from other 7-year-olds only.
Right.
He's getting social cues from me, from other adults that he's with, or
from
older children.
Bingo.
Older children, you're, no brainer.
Bingo. Yeah, no, that's it. And people always, well, and it's got this stigma, right, from when we were younger, and the homeschool kids are the weird families, and people forget about the fact there was weird people in public school too. I mean, there's weird people everywhere you go. There's cool people, there's great people, but most people are really good people. And that's really what we should be focusing on.
Yeah. And, with the homeschool, I've said this a few times, it's just, you need to keep in mind the fact that our school system is not addressing a lot of people's needs, and a lot of children who have absolutely no resources in public school, who may be somewhere on the spectrum, or
learning disabilities.
Learning disabilities, and some of them may be awkward, and they have no other choice, so they are going to be homeschooled. So, if you knew that one kid who was awkward and he was homeschooled, it wasn't the homeschool, it was just that he was an awkward person, and that's we're all different. And, we should look at the fact that those needs were not being, they weren't being addressed. And we start to think about what's the kid's name? Was it Jacob?
Oh yeah, that autistic kid. He's so smart.
Who's like getting
he was up for like a Nobel Peace Prize. Jacob Barnett or something.
Jacob Barnett, I think. Yeah, put that in the show notes.
They told him, his mom, that he would never be able to tie his shoes, and he still can't tie his shoes, which is hilarious. But he's doing TED Talks on like physics, and the kid's a genius.
He's an actual rocket scientist.
He's an actual rocket scientist
at 12 years old.
Yeah, he's like 12 years old.
See, so that's great, and that's great that I can tie my shoes, but this kid's way smarter than me. Like that's that's awesome.
I'll unlearn it if I could be that smart.
No doubt. Yeah, no, that's it, man. That's where it comes down to that whole self-awareness piece, and letting people be, the world. And John Taylor Gatto was the perfect person to say this. He said something along the lines of people managing themselves would be the ideal. We don't need large systems in place. Let people self-manage. Let them be who they are. Let them be aware of that and work with their strengths. You work with your strengths, and then let's put our strengths together. And communities would be so much more empowered, rather than people never getting to figure out, and we're all in this state of disarray. That's it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's so ironic that the amount of chaos that comes from such a rigid,
totally,
versus the that comes, and that's true for a lot of things. That's true for any political system. That's true for any system that's top down, that's just, trying to bring everyone in line, is going to lead to chaos.
Yes, sir.
And we're here, we're all over here like, did you see my kid over there? They were all over there. Just don't look at them though, because they're going to be like, why are you staring at me? But they're all cooperating very well. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Well, let's notice that.
Yes, sir. That's exactly it, man. That's exactly it.
So here's what I want to do, because we've talked about two of our major buckets that we love, but we wanted to spend a little bit of time before we let you go on, the your personal experience with nutrition, how you and your wife handle it, how you and your family handle it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question too, man. And this is another place where, we kind of are seen as definitely as the outliers, and it was my wife. That's how she found you guys, is she's going, hey, you got to check these people out. They're right in our boat. So, we did we had a very similar journey to yourselves, and it was like, okay, I tried vegan and was sicker than junk. And we went kind of the paleo route when we were doing CrossFit, I mean, I got my CrossFit certification at Aromas back in the day with like Jason Khalipa and like those beasts.
Oh, nice. That was my.
Was that?
He was a big dude. So Jason Khalipa was my hero because we were the same size.
Yeah.
Like at the time,
yeah,
I was like
totally
big for CrossFit. You know, now I'm 20 pounds heavier, but whatever.
But still, yeah, you guys are beasts, and I'm in no way that condition. I mean, that was never, but that's who I was with, right? So we're going through the whole paleo thing, and when Rob Wolf was still, and Rob's a flipping genius, man. When he was still associated with CrossFit, I got the nutrition certification through him, and my wife was along the journey the whole way, and we're doing all these different things, and so we were definitely healthier than most people because we were eating at least real food. And we knew early on the benefit of eating real stuff versus things you can't pronounce, right? Like that was pretty obvious. But my wife had still suffered from migraines from like 12 years old on. And it was a monthly thing, a lot of times correlating with cycles. And she would get these debilitating migraines for a day or two, which literally would just put her out. I mean, like 100% vision.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah, so bad. Like couldn't see a thing, throwing up, it was all of that kind of stuff. And, I mean, to the point where a lot of times, especially after we had kids, I was having to leave work, pretty consistently to go home because you can't even see the children, so I'm going home for that. So as we're diving in and again, no doctors were giving this is more of a self-education kind of thing. And I started seeing the correlation with going keto to helping people with epilepsy. And I'm going, okay, I wonder if there's a connection on this. So I introduced that idea to her and she's like, man, let's give it a go. I'll try anything. Let's see if it works. And it was literally that conversation. Boom. She switched over right away and is going, okay, I'm going to ride this out and let's see what happens. And she is now 2 years, fully keto, 2 years migraine free.
Amazing.
Wow.
Which was huge. I mean, it's made such a huge shift.
It is very.
Oh my gosh. Just
migraines.
So yes. So completely eliminated it. So we've stayed kind of in that, and I, initially wanted to just support her in what we were doing. And so, I kind of switched over, but, we just noticed all of those benefits of how we're feeling and the cognitive functioning and, all of those things. So we started being the ones, just like we're preaching kind of the homeschool, we started preaching keto as well. And, have just gone through this whole process of self-experimentation and like, do we do better with vegetables, without vegetables? And both of us, in these past probably 4 or 5, 6 months have we clearly do better. Both of us do without. We have kind of gone more into that carnivorous, and it's not even close. Like it's night and day.
It's so crazy, right?
It's unbelievable. And we were talking about it again last night. It's like, can you imagine? Nobody was ever talking about the fact that, hey, vegetables might jack some people up. Like that's never been a conversation. And it's never a conversation. So you never even think to do it. And once we did it, we're like, oh my gosh, and it's,
I know you almost can't believe it. Like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous.
Yep. You absolutely can't. Absolutely can't. And
I can't imagine with someone who's completely uninitiated into who we are. They click on our page or something, and it's just like their head might open up. It has to there needs to relieve some pressure.
I know, and sometimes honestly, I gotta confess. Like sometimes, depending on my mood and how much I want to speak that day, I might lie. On what I eat, because I get asked sometimes, like in the sauna, by like these older women.
I'll bet,
And I'm like, no, you don't want to, no, don't ask.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know what I eat. Like, and they're already starting with like, oh, I try to like not eat so much meat, and I'm like, girl, don't ask me. Don't ask me what I eat.
Right.
Do not ask me.
Right. It's not even worth it. Yep.
Yeah. Just don't even. You don't even want.
I totally get it. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you on all on all of these things, where this outlier kind of on education, on the dietary stuff. I mean, people will just ask. And if I know it's not something they're asking for advice or help or to have an actual conversation, I know I'm going to be looked at like a serial killer. So like, it's like, oh,
Yeah, Danny can't really read the cues that good. Sometimes he'll start getting into it.
Like
I'm like, stop, please.
When you're having
stop.
like a server who asks something like in passing, and you're starting to like go into the full thing. Like,
I'm like, Danny, he didn't really care that much.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's so funny. Oh, that's awesome. You're like, actually, let me tell you
the funniest thing. I know. Well, we go to our favorite steakhouse here in Tampa. Our favorite server is actually a vegan, and he's our favorite.
Yeah, he's
and like
super
we will
cool.
ask for him every time.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because he says he's a vegan for health purposes, not because of like moral.
Right.
Like, so he's not like on the moral high
Right,
horse.
right.
So like and imagine we just go in there and we're like, we'll have bacon and steak,
Perfect.
and then more.
Yep.
But it's just so funny.
Yep. No, it's awesome. I love it. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys on that. We usually don't even have the conversation. And our family, you know, at this point is like, okay, what? It doesn't surprise us. What? Of course, that's all you guys want to eat. And they're like, whatever.
You've
We're
trained
aliens,
them.
yeah.
We've trained our
Yeah, we've
families
trained
too.
them
They're
too,
already
but-
like at
yeah.
this point, it's like, you know, what's the
shouldn't be
worst that can
surprised.
happen? Everything that you've done that's absolutely insane apparently hasn't blown up in their face. So I guess at this point, just can't beat them. Maybe not join them. Maybe join them. Half the time they join us.
Yeah, they
after
join,
like
yeah.
that. But at least tolerate them.
At least just leave it alone. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you the kicker, man, like what gets them, I think, what gets us the least amount of pushback we're going to get is the fact that our kids are very similar in their diet. You know, they'll have some occasional fruit and things too, very much. I think very similar to you guys, you know, Dean and Desmond, and
Yeah.
I think they eat very similar fashion, and they see that our kids are the healthiest kids they know. They don't have
Yeah.
skin issues. They don't get sick. If they do get sick, it's this very little thing that goes away super quick, right? And like
In like
they-
48 hours.
I mean, done.
Yeah. It's like
And
they almost
can't
get
deny
sick.
it. They can't deny it.
Yeah.
You know, at that
I
point,
love
it's
that
like,
you
man,
put your kids yogurt. Because that's like the biggest treat for my kids ever. Like they are yogurt monsters.
Yeah, I think
sure.
they had yogurt this afternoon.
Yeah,
they
they
asked
got
us
their
for some
yogurt.
yogurt for sure.
for sure.
Yogurt
Like,
and fruit and then steak.
that's it. That's it. I mean, yeah, legitimately, like that's the big treat. And then, yeah, man, we'll go to a local farm here and we'll get half a cow, and you know, we'll come back a couple months later to get another half a cow, and they're like, wait, didn't you just buy one? And I'm like,
They're
dude,
like, dude.
you don't know. Like the 7, 5, and 2-year-old in my house, they're a bunch of savages. I mean, they just wreck shop on that whole thing. So yeah, it's so cool. But I mean,
I
the proof's
gotta
in the
hide
pudding,
stuff all
man.
the time.
Yeah, Dean's eating 12 ounces of meat in a sitting now as a
That's
4-year-old.
legit.
And I'm just
I
like,
love it.
That's like
This
half of
kid.
his
It's
daily
so-
total, like probably what he needs. Like in general,
Yeah.
he only weighs 40 pounds. Like how much
I was gonna say
protein
that's
does
like
he need?
half his weight. Yeah, dude, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, man. No, I love it.
Fantastic.
But proof's in the pudding, man.
we had expectations. We had expectations of what this interview was going to be like, and you just completely just ruined them because you just outperformed on
amazing.
everything. We really appreciate it, man. Seriously, you know, I really hope that a lot of people learn more about what you're doing. I think now's the perfect time to, you know, plug away, man. Where can people find you? What are you working on? And, you know, where can they go to look into these things?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that very much, man. And and my expectations were just exactly who you guys are, which is, you know, I've had the benefit of following you for a whole lot longer and stuff. So I appreciate you guys like crazy, and anything I can do to ever, you know, perpetuate anything you guys are doing, man. I'm definitely I'm on Team Vega far and away. So
Thank you. We
absolutely,
appreciate that.
man. Absolutely. So I very much appreciate you guys. But yeah, actually, you know, the homeschool course is actually going to go live today or tomorrow. We're creating a brand new site, and it's just my name. It's just mattbodro.com. And that's going to it'll have the homeschool course available. It'll have, you know, some things about my speaking engagements available. And we're going to connect a YouTube to that too, to kind of just kind of go around and check out the, you know, the speaking that I do, and kind of what we're doing there at Acton Placer as well. So, you know, just my name, you'll be able to find me on IG, on Twitter, on Facebook, and everything just under my name, man. And that'll do it all. And I'm glad to connect. And it's not even about, you know, it's just about providing value. Again, that's all my legacy. The speaking that I do is I'm not saying it's phenomenal. Like I love that I get to do that. And that's how I provide for my family. Everything else is how I provide value to the rest of the world, you know? And so I'm glad to connect with everybody and anybody on that and just help any way I can.
That's awesome.
Wow, I love that so much.
I know I connected you with my friends. We're doing that men's event next year. Maybe we get you in that.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
I'm going to hopefully be involved.
Yeah, I'm going to be there, man. You know, I told him, I said, give me the date. As soon as the date gets locked down, let me know so that I can block that off on the calendar to make sure I don't get booked for anything else. And I'll be there, man. So yeah, I'm excited about that. It's gonna be a good event.
I think so, man. That's another big problem that needs to be addressed. Is, men who, of course, we all need to search for that inner lion or whatever, but we also need to be, men of virtue, men who are, every single part of the spectrum that makes us, more valuable to our wives and our partners and our kids and our communities.
Yes.
So, when Michael approached me about it, Michael Keck, shout out to Michael Keck and Carter, by the way, who are putting this event on.
Yeah.
I just thought, then I thought of you. So they were like, of any person who speaks? And I thought of you. So, maybe less than 6-7 months from now, something like that, I think, we'll all be over there in St. Louis.
Yeah, man.
Hanging out.
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to it. I appreciate you, throwing my name in there and the conversation. Paul and I jumped on the phone there just a day or two after that, and we started out jumping on thinking we were going to have like a quick 10-15 minute conversation. And we were out, I think, we went for like 2.5 hours, man. It was great. Like we were just rocking and rolling. Wow. So yeah, awesome. It was fantastic, man. So I very much appreciate that. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. You're right. It's something that's it's so needed, man. It's so needed. And if we can provide a little bit of value for any of those guys, then it's going to be an amazing time. So.
I love that.
Anything else before we?
Well, yeah, I just want to say that I love what you said about, your legacy, and Danny was talking about that too. And I just think that that's not something people think about. And I think that we should think about that, think about what kind of legacy you want to leave and like what kind of value you want to provide to others, and I feel like if everyone did that, the world would be pretty awesome.
Well, here's some homework for anybody who's listening. Write your eulogy. Sit down and write it. Pretend you're like,
I love that.
Knows you very well about, what people are going to say about you, because it could be that, that Ebenezer Scrooge moment when you realize like, holy crap, like I'm kind of sucking more out of this world than I'm giving back. And it's okay. It's okay. We all are, we're wired to be automatic, and we're wired to be automatons, our brains, that's how it works. So when we get jarred, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
You got the power. Now, what are you going to do?
Oh, so good.
Yeah, so important.
So good. Like one of our reminders, man, this life, this ride gets discontinued. So,
exactly.
let's make it a hell of a ride while we're at it. That's huge, man. I love that to write your own eulogy. I think that's great. So good.
All right. So, we're going to finish up here, but, can you stay on for a minute or two after? I know we went long.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Will do.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to leave us those 5-star reviews. Make sure they're 5-star reviews and positive, because it really helps us. And it also brings visibility to us, and it allows other amazing people that we want to bring on to our podcast to see, who we are. So if you like what we're doing, please do that. Please share it. And until next week.
Yeah.
See ya.
Takes you higher, I will forever be intertwined with you. Well, the sun never goes down.